Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. By way of introductions, I'm Sanjay Pothen. I oversee Launch, which is Emerson College's Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We're here to talk about voice in education. So what I thought I could do is start by just giving you a little bit of context for Launch and Emerson College, then share what we have and continue to do in voice in education, and close by talking about some of the key lessons that we have learned through our journey in voice, so that hopefully all of you can benefit from our experience as well. All of us at Voice Global, I'm sure, strongly believe that voice is going to fundamentally transform how we live, work, and play. And all of us at Emerson College have been focused on the next evolution of expression since our founding. As a matter of fact, we were founded in 1880 by Charles Wesley Emerson as a school of oratory. Today, we are internationally recognized as the nation's premier institution of higher learning devoted specifically to communication and the arts. We have more than 4,500 students split across 3 campuses globally, with our main campus being in Boston, Massachusetts. We have a second campus in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard, and a third campus in the Netherlands in Europe. We've got 2 major schools, a School of Communication and School of the Arts, with departments in the School of Communication being those of Marketing Communication, Communication Studies, Journalism, and Communication Science and Disorders. The School of Arts is comprised of departments focused on visual and media arts, i.e. film, WLP, Writing, Literature, and Publication, and Performing Arts and Liberal Arts. We're proud of the fact that many of our programs, whether they be journalism, communication, marketing, media, film, entrepreneurship, are highly ranked. And we are one of the few schools in the country that has a student-run college radio station. I'll connect that dot for you later in the presentation and share its significance. Some of our notable alums include producers and directors of shows like Will and Grace and Friends, entrepreneurs like Bobby Brown, comedians like Jay Leno, David Cross, and Eliza Schlesinger, and of course, the Fonz. Our students are unique. We're a non-engineering school, and so as a matter of fact, our president, Lee Pelton, likes to humorously describe Emerson as MIT for the other side of the brain. Launch is our school's center for entrepreneurship and innovation. So in this capacity, we are focused on 2 things. 1, innovation and bringing innovation from the outside in, and 2, entrepreneurship. And in entrepreneurship, what we do is we focus on working with our students who are aspiring entrepreneurs to help them take the seed of a startup idea and form a real company. And we do this by providing 4 main things. 1, mentorship, 2, funding, 3, co-working space, and 4, a structured methodology, what we call a startup bootcamp, where we work with each of the students as a cohort to help them take their idea and form real companies by the end of it. As we were looking to figure out how to differentiate Launch from every other school center for entrepreneurship and innovation, we settled on voice. When we looked at the space, we can clearly see that there's some massive and incredible numbers that are being bandied about. Both Google and Apple have claimed over 500 million monthly active users on their voice platforms. Amazon has reported more than 100 million Alexa-enabled devices sold and 100,000 Alexa skills out in the marketplace. With that said, it seems to be that most of the push and evolution for voice is clearly driven by these large tech platforms. But as we got into it, we realized that it's actually not the technology and not the coding that will be the unique differentiated skills in this new voice-first world, but rather it will be the communication, storytelling, speech, linguistics, and marketing skills that are going to be the true differentiated skills in this new world. And this is really because a lot of the coding in this new world will be done by AI and by the machines. And really the key value and differentiation is going to be provided by the creative and non-engineering sides of the business. Once we realized that we had an opportunity to really lead the conversation, we made a concerted effort to really understand what was happening in the voice space. We began by inviting speakers from these various companies to come on campus and talk to us about what they were working on. These included speakers from the likes of Spotify, as well as Google, Samsung, Microsoft, Apple, etc. We then went to more detailed hackathons where we worked with our students and invited Amazon on campus so we could explore how we could use voice in a campus setting. We simply began by putting a dot on the table, inviting our students, ordering some pizza, and really kind of engaging with voice and voice technology. We then went further and we brainstormed with the students how we could really leverage voice both from a campus and experiential setting, as well as how we could leverage voice in an educational scenario and setting as well. We went further by actually conducting a survey of our students around voice adoption, voice usage, and voice receptivity. As a matter of fact, what started as a survey of our students actually expanded to a survey of all college students in the greater Boston area. So we actually have quite a rich background and deep well of knowledge in terms of Gen Z's receptivity and usage of voice technology. I wanted to share with you some of our insights and learnings because I think it could benefit all of us here as well. One is that clearly students have adopted voice assistants. As a matter of fact, in our survey, 70% of students have used a voice assistant at least once per month. As you would expect, more students, to the tune of 2.5 times more, are using mobile voice assistants over home-based voice assistants. We do see this changing with every incoming freshman class, though, and our hypothesis is that the freshmen, while they were high school seniors and below, were starting to have smart speakers and home-based voice assistants in their homes, and were getting more familiar with them. One thing that we found really interesting, though, is that habits in voice assistant usage are being formed. So once a student or a Gen Z actually does get a home-based speaker or smart speaker, they do start to use it, and they start to use it several times a day, much more so than they use their voice-based mobile assistants. As you would expect, Siri reigns supreme on mobile, with the ratio of students using Siri to Google being greater than 3-to-1, while Alexa retains the lead in the home, with the ratio of students using Alexa to Google Home being 2.5 or so to 1. What we also found interesting here was what was the most important attributes in driving adoption and usage of a voice assistant. And while clearly privacy is a hot topic and is of concern, the two things that really were important were ease of use and convenience. More simply put, voice assistants have to work. It's really cumbersome and annoying when you're talking to a voice assistant and it's not understanding you. And the use case has to work at that moment in time. So it has to be convenient to actually talk to a device rather than using your mobile phone or using your web-based PC, which is already in front of you. One interesting distinction here, however, is that there is a distinction between mobile and home-based voice assistants. So home-based voice assistants, clearly privacy is an important factor. And it's actually the biggest factor in preventing greater adoption of home-based smart speakers. And that's to be expected, whether you're in your dorm room, whether you're in your apartment, whether you're in your home, you're out in the open, and privacy is of paramount concern in using a home-based smart speaker. While on mobile, which is already a very personalized, or probably the most highly personalized device, the ease of use and social awkwardness of using a mobile voice assistant is what's inhibiting greater adoption today. Finally, we found that college students are interested in using voice assistants to help them study, as well as with academic activities such as things like keeping track of their assignments, their calendar, and their campus events. As you would expect, they aren't as interested in using voice to streamline administrative procedures, such as paying bills, tuitions, fees, etc. although their parents expressed great interest in keeping track of these administrative issues using their home-based smart speakers as well. With that strong understanding of where our students were in voice and where the world was going in terms of voice, we took a concerted effort to build our college's first official Alexa skills. I mentioned earlier that we're one of the few schools in the world that has a student-run college radio station. And so it was only natural that we began by voice enabling our college radio station. So today you can say, Alexa, play Emerson College Radio, and it will play WERS 88.9 FM, our student-run college radio station. That made sense, especially when one understands that the most popular use case of voice assistants today, of course, is listening to music. Subsequent to that, we built a flash briefing and then went to our most sophisticated skill, the building of our own college virtual voice assistant. We did this in conjunction with the students, and we brainstormed with the students about 1,000 questions which made sense. And these questions were bucketed into 3 categories. One, categories around what's happening on campus. So today, you could say, Alexa, play Emerson M, and then you can ask her what's happening on campus, and through an API feed, it will deliver all the events that are happening on campus today. The second bucket of information were around location-based questions. So things like, where is the dining center? Where is the library? And the third bucket of questions within that 1,000 question set were questions around frequently asked questions. So things like, when is the last day to drop class? Once we had worked with our students to brainstorm these questions and the various permutations of answering these questions, we worked with the partner to actually build the skill and deploy the skill to our community. It was well received. We rolled it out actually at our annual internal communication days. And today students use it both on their phone, and they access M both on their phone as well as through their home-based as well as dorm-based smart speakers as well. Through this whole process, we realized that we could actually engage our students during the time they were students, which are some of the examples I just gave you, but we could also engage students before they actually came on campus, as well as when they were alumni and after they left campus as well. So you see here, we have a day that's called Picture Yourself at Emerson. And this is a day when we host students that have been accepted to Emerson, but haven't agreed yet to come. And so we host them on campus. We allow them to take some classes. We allow them to, we give them a tour of the campus. And we created a voice element to that day where the students and parents were able to interact with a skill that we created, which was based on Emerson trivia. And so we had volunteers, both students and parents, come up and really kind of take the quiz, answer the questions about Emerson. What was really interesting was actually the students were less aware of the answers than some of the parents. And the parents found it really fascinating that their students could learn about voice design and voice technology if they came to Emerson subsequently. Building on that experience, what we wanted to do was not just keep these great learnings to our campus or our community. And so last year, we held the inaugural Voice of Education Summit here in Boston at one of our theaters, the Paramount Theater to be exact. And here what we did is we opened up the conversation to educators, and not just college educators, but high school educators, middle school educators, and elementary school educators, as well as technologists and designers and marketers in voice, so we could collectively discuss how best we can leverage voice and voice technology in education, and how best we can leverage voice and voice technology to help students learn and drive better outcomes. Through all of this work in voice over the last 2 years or so, we became familiar with the Alexa Innovation Fellowship. And this is a fellowship that Alexa provides to colleges where they partner with colleges and provide support, gear, and funding to help drive and spur innovation around voice. Each college is really free to innovate how they want. And we decided to apply for the fellowship and were fortunate enough to win. And our whole thesis was what I had mentioned earlier, where our thesis and our argument in applying for the fellowship was that it's important not just to have the engineering schools at the table, but it was important to have a non-engineering, creative, liberal arts focused school at the table as well, as we all collectively work to move the conversation and move voice forward together. We were fortunate enough to win. As you can see here, we were one of 10 schools that were selected. You'll see here that we're in good company. And you'll also see and notice here that we're the only non-engineering school to have been selected as well. Each school is free to innovate as they choose. As you would expect, Berkeley is focused on spurring voice technology innovation, and particularly voice entrepreneurship and starting companies in voice. Arizona State has worked to deploy voice echo dots in dorm rooms. They've worked to create a voice engineering curriculum. They've even enabled voice-enabled Sun Devil Stadium. And we have done some of the things that I just mentioned to you in terms of experimenting with how we could use voice to better engage our students and our community through voice skills. In addition, as you know, our mission as an educational institution, of course, is to help students learn. And so what we wanted to do was explore how we could integrate voice technology into curriculum and see if voice could actually help improve student outcomes and help students learn. So we concepted and incubated an idea called Voicelets, which is a voice-enabled study guide. And so this began with one or two professors last year who were interested in using voice in classroom as a study guide. What we did here was we developed a different voicelets. They have different formats such as true, false, multiple choice, and flashcards. And in the spring of 19, one professor who taught Introduction to PR used the platform to create 17 unique voicelets with about 150 questions that she then deployed to her 25 students in the class. The students used it to study, and there was good feedback and enthusiasm from the students and the professor. So then last fall and this year, we rolled out a college-wide pilot to 10 professors who then used this voice-enabled study guide platform to build 100 unique voicelets comprising 850 questions, which were then deployed to 1,000 students. As a matter of fact, every freshman student is required to take fundamentals of speech, and that class used this voice-enabled study guide to help the students study for the actual exams. And so we're in the process of proving out our auditory learning hypothesis. So it's not just focused on voice as an experience and as a student experience, but voice in classroom with integration into curriculum and driving learning outcomes and learning as well. Going even further, similar to mobile, when mobile arose, there was a huge need for mobile designers and mobile technologists and a whole industry of new skills and resources were opened up. And we feel that the same is going to happen in voice, that as voice first arrives, there's going to be a whole need for voice designers and voice coders. And so what we just did just a few weeks ago was launch the world's first professional certificate. This is focused on non-Emerson students, so anybody who's not a student but is actually is working and is looking to learn about voice technology, voice design. perhaps looking to reskill and get into this new wave, we have created a voice technology design and coding bootcamp, which runs for 18 weeks, very hands-on, experiential. It's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning, as well as hands-on learning with real-life clients that are looking for voice skills to be built. And this set of students will graduate over the summer, and they'll be able to actually design and build voice technology skills for companies and for society. So with that said, we feel quite good about our experience. We have done a lot over the last 2 years in terms of voice, more than dipped our toe, but I've actually gotten quite a lot of experience in the space. And so there were some learnings that we learned that I wanted to close and leave you with. First of all, voice enables anytime, anywhere learning. In today's day and age, we are in a new paradigm where people are not just learning in the classroom and not just learning from books, but they are able to learn from multiple technology, multiple platforms, and at any time and any place. And we saw this particularly with the voicelets. When these voicelets were deployed to our students, they actually used it much more so while traveling, whether on the subway or walking through the park with their earphones and earbuds and their iPhones, talking out loud to Alexa, answering the questions. There was no embarrassment in that, and they used that much more so on the go than while using it sitting in their dorm room with a smart speaker or an Echo Dot. The second thing that we realized is that voice really enables interactivity and gamification. So people are the most interactive creatures, and voice allows us to connect with people in an interactive way and allows for people to grasp the materials in an interactive way. As a matter of fact, gamification is particularly beneficial and useful for perhaps non-college students, but younger students, to help take material and educational material and gamify it and make it much more interesting and fun to learn as well. And really kind of the underlying premise here is that more people retain much more by listening than by reading. So they retain twice as much of what they hear than what they read. And so the whole concept of voice reinforcing interactivity and learning is quite a powerful one. Of course, we've all heard the theme of conversational-based learning, and here the whole premise is that there are particular subjects where it makes much more sense to learn it in an auditory manner. And what we found here is that languages, courses that are focused on memorization heavy type of content-based courses, and evaluation-focused courses are much more relevant and better suited for voice technology than, say, perhaps a calculus class or a physics class. And so there needs to be thought in terms of the subject matter, the types of classes, and how best to use voice to really kind of play to those types of classes and leverage voice's strengths for those types of classes. That finally takes us to auditory learning, and it's proven that the process of not just listening but speaking leads to improved learning and better outcomes. And so here what we found is that while voice can be used and is quite a powerful tool for all learners, it's particularly better suited for clearly those who are visually impaired, English language learners, students with reading comprehension challenges, and of course, just those who are general auditory learners as well. And finally, kind of as we look forward to voice and education, we are in pursuit of what we call deep learning. Deep learning is an AI-based concept, but our view of deep learning is that really the holy grail of voice in education is leveraging voice and voice technology to reinforce learning and instruction, leveraging AI technology so you can customize it for each individual student, but coupling that with human interactions. So that we never lose the human touch, the need for uh, instruction and human instruction, and coupling human instruction with voice technology and AI technology would really kind of lead to the holy grail of deep learning. And it's with this premise that some ancillary learnings here is that as we move into deployment of voice technology, it's critically important to keep in mind not just the students, but the professors and the educational staff and instructional designers, and incorporate them into the process, ensure that our voice apps and voice skills are integrated with learning management systems, enabling unique individual insights so that the teacher can then be free to not be focused on repetitive types of tasks, but on helping really students achieve learning, which is really kind of the true promise of all education. So I will close there by thanking you. I hope I was able to share some of our insights in terms of our journey in voice, and hopefully some of our learnings will benefit all of you, and leave you with the slide that Steve Jobs always closed all of his presentations with, which is that really kind of any technology, the ultimate fruits of any technology will be reaped at this intersection of technology and liberal arts and design. So thank you very much for spending the time with me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time at the summit, and I wish you a very nice rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.